Oh, hello. Why don't you sit down? We'll have a spot of tea and talk about Downton Abbey, a new era, the new follow-up film to Downton Abbey. Cheers. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch or Pass, and I got my tea. I'm all dressed up in my finest because I'm here to talk about Downton Abbey, a new era, the new, follow-up film to the Downton Abbey series and the Downton Abbey movie that came out, I think in 2017. It came out a few years ago. This film is coming to theaters on May 20th, 2022. I have almost no Downton Abbey experience. I didn't see the first film. I saw about 30 minutes of it for prep before. But you know what? That's on me because I absolutely love this. Look, my hot take is I think you should definitely watch it. This film was just such a joy to see. It had a really great setting. It had some really sharp writing, plenty of things happening. They did some things with the story to make it move along fairly quickly, and it meaningfully advances the story of these characters. So if you do know about these characters and you have followed them, this film will give you new revelations and new big life changes that will make you both, smile and cry. So like I said, I haven't seen much of Downton Abbey. I've seen about 30 minutes of the movie. Actually, maybe it was like 45 minutes. But thankfully, before the screening, there was a helpful primer that they had. They showed like the events of the movie. They showed the events of the series. I don't know if that's going to be in the actual theatrical release. I hope it is because it was very helpful for me. But if not, still go see it. It's still a good movie. So I'm going to tell you a little more about the film. A few things I liked. A couple things I didn't love. But like I said, I like this movie a lot. And I might talk briefly about some of the big revelations at the end. So if you don't want to know what happens in the film, turn this off at the ending portion. I'll keep it vague up until then. So in Downton Abbey, a new era, you have all of your favorite characters. I mean, this film has an ensemble cast. It took me like 10 minutes to write down just the people and their names. This film has a lot of characters, and they all return for this movie. And in the film, you have a couple big events happen in Downton Abbey that change some of the relationships, change some of the characters, but also cause a lot of energy and turmoil in this generally fairly quiet state. So things I liked about this movie. The first is the setting. I mean, look, this film is called Downton Abbey. It's set in this beautiful estate in England, and it is just lovely to see. Like the house is amazing looking. Like some of the scenes of the grounds and some of the big impact shots where you get to see the actual manor in its full glory are just amazing to see. They're very beautiful. But part of the film also takes place in the south of France when some of the Downton Abbey crew when some of the Downton Abbey family go to explore this new villa that the Lady Grantham has inherited. Both of those things are very beautiful, and they are a fun place to escape to. The second thing I love is the writing. The writing is fantastic. It's sharp, it's funny, it's clever. And what I really like, and maybe this is the series, I haven't watched the series, but I imagine it's probably like this. There's a lot of very subtle hints, and I love it when films give you subtle hints. They don't necessarily tell you exactly what's happening. It's more of kind of context based. You'll get like a little bit of the information, and it's up to the audience to come to that conclusion. I love when that happens. I love when films trust the audience, and this film does it well. The writing is sharp and clever, and it moves the story along, and it's just fun to listen to and hear these interactions. The third thing I loved is the humor. It's a dry British humor that is wonderful. Like it will elicit chuckles. It will sometimes elicit full-on laughs. There's a lot of very funny moments in this film and very funny writing in this film that keep the audience entertained. The fourth thing I love, and I've talked about this before, are the dual stories. Not only do you get these great places to view and explore, but the fact that the storyline keeps kind of jumping back and forth means that the film keeps progressing, and it lets the audience kind of not get too bored with one place, because you'll have a little bit from Downton Abbey, and then you'll have a little bit from the south of France, and then a little bit more from Downton Abbey, and they'll keep going back and forth, which means that the audience's attention is always kind of engaged, and it keeps the film fresh and moving. The fifth thing I loved is just the warmth. I mean, this is just a lovely movie to watch. It's a fun experience. Everyone is fairly kind. Everyone is very loving and supportive. There's drama, obviously, as you would expect when you have these many people in one house. But overall, it is just a wonderful experience. And it's one of those movies that you're just going to leave with a smile on your face. And the last thing I love is this film does have meaningful story progression. Sometimes you'll have a movie where you won't get anything major for the characters. I don't know. They don't want to change it in the show. They don't want to have too many things happen in a different format. I believe the Downton Abbey series is over, so maybe they weren't worried about that. But this film has lots of big character and life changes for a lot of the characters. There are some very happy moments. There are some very sad moments. But the film does progress the storylines of a lot of your favorite characters. And if you've watched the series, this is going to be a very meaningful film for you. I hadn't watched the series, and it was still a meaningful film for me. I loved seeing some of these big changes that happened. I love seeing some of these big life decisions. So if you're a fan of this series, then this is going to be definitely for you. Things I didn't love about this film, and again, these are going to be minor. I am going to warn you, there will be some spoilers here. So if you don't want to know what happens in the film, turn this off now. So the first thing I didn't love is some of the crises seem to be resolved a little bit too quickly and a little bit too obviously. And it's not really a major knock. It was just some things. There were a few instances where there was this like big crisis that happened and someone said a very obvious thing. And you're like, well, another person should have been able to come to that. Or things get resolved very, very quickly. I'm going to give two examples in the film. The first is, so the Downton Abbey storyline is they are filming a movie in Downton Abbey. They're filming a movie that happens, that is set at the manor. And so, but the problem is that this film is a silent picture, and the movie itself, the overall movie, is called Downton Abbey: A New Era. And a lot of the themes in this film are about moving from like the older times into a more modern times. Now look, this is the 1930s, so it's a more modern 1930s time, but still there's a lot about changes in culture, in personalities, and in technology. And one of the things that happens is the film that is being made in Downton Abbey, the film that they're filming, is called The Gambler. It's a silent picture, but this is the era where talking pictures are becoming, all the rage. And the studio partway through pulls the production because they can't make a silent picture. They don't think they can justify the budget. They're not going to make it up because everyone wants to see talking pictures. No one wants to see a silent picture. They actually have a scene in the film where Lady Mary and the director go to see a film because she actually hasn't, I don't think she's actually seen a movie. And the talking picture is completely sold out. Everyone wants to go see that. The silent picture they're in, there's like 2 or 3 people, and it kind of shows the march of progress. But when this happens, the director freaks out. He's like, oh, like we have to cancel everything. Like I'll let you know if production ever comes back up, but we have to cancel the entire production. And Lady Mary's like, well, why can't we just make a talking picture? What would we need? And the director's like, oh, well, we would need like a sound engineer from London, and maybe to rekey a few things. And it's like such an obvious answer that I feel like the director probably should have come up with it. It does make a nice scene where they get to kind of collaborate, but again, it felt like that was a very easy solution. Obviously, they then convert this to a talking picture so they can keep filming and the movie can still be made. And another example of this was there was one scene where the star had a crisis. She, got frustrated with the production and she didn't want to do it anymore. And so she runs to her room and closes the door and, refuses to come out. And then they send the 2 serving girls in and they talk to her for like literally a minute. And she's like, okay, I'll come back to the show. Again, that felt like that resolved too quickly. I felt like they could have had a little bit more kind of nuance there, a little bit more pushing and pulling it in that conversation. But again, it's not that big of a deal. And I think the film is already over 2 hours. So maybe some of that stuff is just they didn't have time to add additional aspects to it because the film was already fairly long. So again, not a big complaint, but just something I noticed. The second thing I didn't love is there is a slight cut at the end. There's an event that happens that I really wanted to see kind of done in full splendor. And right when I thought that they were going to do it, it cuts. And so major spoilers here, major spoilers. In the end, the Lady Grantham passes away. She passes away peacefully. She's surrounded by her family. It's a very lovely scene, and Maggie Smith does a fantastic job, like staying in character while having a little bit of heart, while giving a few concessions on her deathbed. It's a really great scene. And then they have a funeral, which is a really good scene. It's a somber scene. They load the coffin up in a car. They're proceeding to the funeral. Everyone's kind of walking down this procession, and they kind of walk out of the Downton Abbey grounds. And then like everyone fades away and it becomes 9 months later. And I really wanted to see, I don't know, maybe more of the funeral, maybe them walk up to the funeral, maybe them bury her. I just wanted something a little bit more because I felt like that was such a pivotal scene, and it feels like they cut it off a little bit too quickly. But again, like I said, the film was already fairly long. I imagine they didn't have time for it. Maybe they didn't have budget for it. Who knows? Again, the film is very good. So I definitely think you should check it out. So that is Downton Abbey: A New Era. It's coming to American theaters on May 20th, 2022. Like I say, it's an absolutely lovely film. I think you should definitely check it out. Even if you don't have any exposure to this series, it gives you enough that you'll be able to follow along. And it's just a wonderful film. So thanks so much for watching. If you liked this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.